everyone, and welcome to today's video. Today we are going to talk about how we can shift our focus from quick fixes to long-lasting health. And I'm very excited to bring on Fruity Ron, so called Fruity Ronnie, today. And the reason why I'm so excited to talk about this is because, hello,
Hello, Julia.
yeah, I was just sharing the reason I'm so excited about talking about long-lasting health today is because I feel like many people get into the raw vegan diet thinking it's a quick fix for weight loss or, something like that, or detox, getting into fasting. And I feel it's really important to shine some light onto the importance that what it's actually about is, long-lasting health. We want to improve the entire quality of our life, not just for a few years, but yeah, for a long time. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into educating people about raw veganism, and what's your passions and hobbies?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Julia, and thank you those that are joining us, and feel free to ask any questions or whatever. But I got into the raw vegan diet about 10 or 11 years ago. I was sort of always curious about what was a healthier diet. I was kind of interested in that, and I was looking to feel good, and I was kind of on a spiritual path as well. So I was looking to get more energy and sort of open up to that. And so it was appealing to me, the idea of trying out different diets. And I saw a documentary about Earthlings, the Earthlings documentary, that made me want to go vegan. And then when I went to try and learn about the vegan diet, I found a lot of raw vegans, and I found one video where a guy was talking about how he only ate fruits and vegetables, and he was still very strong, and he was an athlete, and he was performing better than people half his age and stuff. And that really, and when he said he only ate fruit and vegetables, it made sense to me. I thought, this is what I've been waiting to hear all my life. I thought, this sounds right. So I started to experiment with it, and then started to learn more, got really, really interested in it, got really into it. And then I went to a festival called the Woodstock Fruit Festival, and I felt like I really found a community of people that were quite like me and had similar goals and aspirations, and that led me to go to a lot of events. And then I put on events myself, and I think that's one of my biggest passions, is the raw vegan community itself, and the events and people coming together and sharing this lifestyle together. I still really enjoy that. So I was in Ecuador earlier in the year at the Amazon Fruit Fest, and I'll be going back to Woodstock this year for the 10th time. And I hope to go to the Dutch festival and the Austria festival as well. So I really love the whole community and these events, and I run the UK Fruit Fest as well. So, yeah.
Amazing. I just want to say thank you as well for spreading the message by, putting up these festivals. I can imagine it must take a lot of courage to, do it, because, it might be that no one is coming, but obviously you're putting a lot of work into promoting them also through your Love Fruit podcast, which I also just want to express my gratitude. I got so much out of it. I just love listening to, all these interviews and the amazing people that you put on. So yeah, thank you so much for putting so much energy into, spreading the message and educating people.
That's excellent. Yeah, I do make an effort, and I see that Raju's joined us. Thank you, Raju. Feel free to join in or ask a question. But yeah, I mean, I think that the festival gives me a reason to promote this idea more, and I should be doing it more, I think. So I need to keep on trying to get it out there, and keep growing the festival and get more people to come, and maybe help other festivals start or other events and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I I've done a bit of coaching and things like that and other things, but I do like the events and the festivals a lot.
Mm. Yeah, I feel like the community, that's really where the deepest transformation can happen. You can have so much strategies and stuff, but if you don't have the human connection and the community, then you're not going to be able to really stick with it long term. I mean, you can, but it's more challenging, I suppose.
Yeah.
So it's really like, I think, the deepest and most powerful
Yeah,
thing you can do.
I want to talk about that a little bit actually, but I see a little wave from Claire, so we want to wave back, and everyone else who's joining. But yeah, I mean, the reason that to me that one of the things about, and Diana Closter's just joined, so hello, hello. So like, it's about motivation, and a lot of people, when you're trying to do something different, and everyone else around you is doing the opposite, and what they're doing is much easier to do, and their food is everywhere, and it's also addictive and very highly flavorful, and it's easy to get, and it's very cheap, and all this stuff. The question of how do you actually maintain a diet long enough for it to become a habit for you, and that comes down to motivation. And then you have to ask yourself what motivates people, and that's quite interesting. Like what motivates human beings, and one of those things, there's certain things that motivate us that are very instinctual. Like if you feel scared, if you know, if a lion comes in the room or whatever, a tiger, you're motivated to get away because of fear or whatever. You know, we have these basic instinctual motivations, and we have a motivation to eat and a basic thing to eat, but that gets kind of subverted by addiction and by the environment that people grow up in now. So what we really need to try and motivate ourselves to stick to this is to be part of a community, because it has an impact on people, to be around others, to be connected with others, to be inspired by others, and um, to see yourself as part of that group rather than as part of what everyone else is doing. And it's funny because people are more motivated by that, I think, than they are by their own health sometimes, because a lot of people have excuses for why they don't eat healthy, and they don't seem to mind that they're putting themselves at risk and putting their life at risk. So so people are yeah, to get, there's something important about coming together with people that really creates inspires you, motivates you, makes you realize that it's possible for you, makes you realize it's real, maybe connects you with new friends, and all these things are can be very helpful to motivate people to get them on the right path. And also the education at the events can be really good as well. And usually if you have those two things, that'll really help people to stick with it. But what we're talking about, long-term mindset, is where it's at. But not everyone wants to be healthy or wants to be a raw vegan or whatever. So if that's not their goal, that's fine. And maybe they do just want to do the juice cleanse for 30 days to lose weight for whatever, a wedding or something, or one event. But when people are going down this path and looking for better health, and they want to feel good for life and all that stuff, then a long-term mindset is way, way better than anything short-term or quick. That tends to set people back.
It's amazing what you're saying, and some is what, other than the education and the community, are your main reasons for staying consistent? Because you've already been on this path for over 10 years, I think you shared in the beginning of this interview. So yeah, what are the other things that really motivate you and drive you towards you know, making this work?
Well, it becomes something like I think there's a balance of, like, everyone wants to feel good, and everyone loves food and loves to eat tasty food, right? So the question is, like, at what point does the feeling good thing become way more important than the food thing? And the more that you think about food, like, people only eat for a very small amount of time each day. They talk about food a lot and think about it, but most of the cooked food meals that people eat and the junk food that people eat is like less than 20 minutes. You know, it's less than 10 minutes. I don't know. It's very quick to eat that stuff. So it's a very short period of time that it's pleasurable to people, and then it has such a bad impact on them for the rest of the day. And as you become more conscious of that and more conscious, you start to think, you start to develop this inner like desire to like, well, maybe I shouldn't do this. But I think that there was a guy that was a kind of a monk, and he was telling us this story once, and he said, you know, he was talking about meditation. He was talking about how they would do chanting for 2 hours a day, and they would do different restrictive practices and things. And someone was saying, how do you get someone to do that, or how do you change towards doing that? And he said, what you don't do, if someone loves what they're still doing, you don't force them to change, right? You don't try and force yourself to change. What you do is you continue to expose yourself to the good thing, and you continue to expose yourself a little bit and a little bit, and gradually what happens is your desire for that expands and grows. Your desire for the higher energy, the higher level, starts to gradually grow and grow, and eventually it overpowers the other choice. So for me, that's what it's been with raw vegan diet. It was something that I experimented with. I was never like too forceful with myself, or like I need to, like I hate myself if I don't do this. It was never like anything like that. It was always like it was always to me like, I'm going to do this at some point. This is what I'm going towards. I will achieve this. You know, this is my feeling of it, and it'll just take me time to work that out. And I was conscious that whenever you change habit, you go back and forth. Well, I did. Often, whenever you change habit, you go back and forth, back and forth. It's quite common. And some people start to think, oh, I'm weak, I can't do this, I'm bad, I'm wrong. It's just natural for us to do that. So as long as you have a good mindset of this is normal, this is the process, I'm on the path towards this. And then every time I would go back to eating cooked food, any junk food, even like heavy processed food, fatty food, whatever, I would become more and more aware of like, this is not how I want to feel. This is not worth it anymore. It wasn't worth it anymore. In the past, it was, maybe. It wasn't worth it anymore because I'd realized like, I actually want to feel good every day, every moment. I want to keep, I'd love to, what have I felt my best all the time? You know, how good could life be? That became more interesting to me. So my desire for that, as I ate more raw foods, as I experimented with a day of raw, of a week of raw, never really trying to force myself too much, never committing too much yet. As I started to feel that and develop that, I thought, I really like this and I really think I want to do this. And then went to the Woodstock Festival, and there I met people, I met others, I met people that have been doing it for 20, 30 years. And I thought, yeah, I want to be like them. I like what they're doing. I like who they are. I like how they're living their life. And that set something in my head of like, that's what I could be. I could be a man in my 60s, 70s, 80s, exercising, healthy, enjoying life. And I thought that's what I should try and be. And I saw them committed to the diet, 100%. And I thought that's what I should be. I should commit. So I pretty much committed to it from then. And that's been the journey for me. And I went away. I did go back to eating good food for a while, and very quickly realized I wanted to get back to raw. And it took me a while. It took me like 6 or 7 months to get back. It's the same process once again. I'm not I'm not one of these guys that I set my mind to and I do it tomorrow and that's it. That's not me. I take time. You know, I don't. I often think a lot of the people that try and force it a little bit too much are not quite ready for it, and they will inevitably bounce back. So I try and take there's a natural time it will take. I think there's a natural time it will take to make a transition, and you can set your mind to it. You can believe this is what I want to do in your head, but the body, your emotions, your subconscious, all of these other systems in you are not quite ready yet. So you have to give yourself a little bit of time.
Yeah, that's actually the exact same experience I've made as well. In the beginning, when I started out with raw food, it went pretty smoothly, but then there was also a time where I was falling back a lot and I was eating like junk food every night. And it was still necessary for me to have that time because I realized like my body just hasn't adjusted to this lifestyle yet. The microbiome, in your gut still consists of all the foods you have
You
been
know,
eating in the previous year or two. So,
yeah.
my gut biome was still consisting of those foods, so I was still craving those foods.
Yes,
And
so Julia, like this, there's a thing where people say, for example, they say, I want to go raw vegan, but I still love to eat vegan, whatever. I still love my vegan, my cooked food. I love my this food. And I'll say, well, love it as long as you love it. Like, why? You don't have to force it out of your life. If you love it, then keep eating it. Like, you don't have to do it right away. But at one point, if you remain conscious of how you feel when you eat raw and when you eat cooked, eventually you won't love it so much anymore. Your love for those other foods will start to diminish a little bit. And you'll start to say to yourself, I don't think that's worth it anymore. You know, and but if you try and force it and you go, I'm going 100% raw, and you still love that other stuff, you're just denying yourself. It's, you can, some people can maybe do that. And if you were able to, if you were on an island somewhere and there was no, you would be able to do it. But it's so tempting to go back to the things you love. For me, I don't love cooked food anymore. I don't love potatoes, rice. I don't love them. Like I understand the flavors and all that stuff. I don't love animal products and cheese. I used to love these foods, but I don't have that love, that desire for them. So it's very easy to stay raw vegan now when you don't love those other foods and your love for the healthy foods grow and your love for the foods that make you feel good start to really grow. And it's not as obvious at first, but you start to really appreciate the simple raw foods that make you feel really good and support your life and support your health and don't cause any downside. And that's what's so magic about it.
yeah, that's also what I found at some point. My body started more and more to just crave fruit and vegetables. I didn't want anything else anymore. And I think that only was possible because I had gone through that time where I allowed myself the foods that I was still craving in the beginning.
Yeah.
The potatoes, the rice, and all that kind of stuff. And then the next day, I was then, also allowing myself to have fatty, salty foods, which maybe right now, looking back, I wouldn't have done because the next day I felt like crap and I didn't want to feel like that anymore. So now thinking
Yeah.
back about the time where I was allowing myself, I just don't want to be in that state anymore. I didn't have the motivation to do exercise, to do yoga, to do all these things. I just was like really doing things that were kind of boring because my body didn't
Yeah.
have the energy to do the exciting things. So yeah, I think it's really beautiful that you have been so gentle with yourself in the beginning as well, and not forcing anything. I think that's the main reason why people fall off and are not able to stick
Yeah.
with the raw vegan diet. So it's
And
amazing
yeah,
that.
I would say I was gentle, but I was also honest. So I did have a certain at any time a person can go, well, you know what, this isn't really important. I can eat mostly raw. Or I can be, 50% or 10% or like people can start to delude themselves or tell themselves it's not important or well, my health's not that important. I'll just go back to eating all the foods. I just want to be with my friends, eating whatever I like. And I realized to myself that was a lie. Like when I was saying that to myself, I realized it's not that fun to eat that food. It's not that great. There's not that much of a benefit from it. It doesn't make as much of a difference in terms of social life and things like that. And it's not that tasty. It's not that much tastier and everything. Really, I realized the real reason I want those foods over the raw foods is there's something addictive about those foods.
Mhm.
That's what I really started to realize. There's something addictive. And it's the same thing when people say, I really want something warm. I really want something hot. I want to eat something warm. It's cold outside. I want to eat something warm. I don't just want to be raw today. And if I was with someone like that, I would say, okay, well, I've got a banana smoothie. I can heat it up for you. But that's not what they want to eat.
Yeah.
It's not just about something hot. They want something
Numbing.
that's cooked. That's maybe, yeah, no, it could be that. That's maybe the right word. So I started to realize, honestly, why am I wanting those foods? Is it the flavor? It's not really the flavor. Is it the consistency? It might be, but I can kind of make something that tastes a little bit like it, feels like it. So I realized there was something in those foods that was strongly craving to me, and I thought, I don't like that feeling of this food having that control over me. I want to be able to say, if I want to eat bananas today, that's it, you know, or blueberries or strawberries or whatever. So, yeah, but we've got some comments, and I see one of my favorite guys, Chef Ocean, is saying Ronnie is a level 5 raw vegan. I'm trying to get to level 6. I'm trying to get up to Chef Ocean's level 6 or 7. I'm not
So
sure where
there's
he's.
different levels of chefing skills,
No,
or
no, we're just having fun,
it's a joke?
but Chef Ocean's been a raw vegan a lot longer than me. But yeah, probably like we could probably create some levels. We could have some fun. But I did, you know, there was a guy made a video about breatharians, and I'm not a fan of breatharianism or people trying to live without food. I totally don't like that. But he made this video about the levels of breatharian, right? And he said most of us are a level 2 breatharian. We still eat food, and I thought, well, that's everyone. Like, isn't that everyone? Like we eat food, but we don't really need it, but we like it. And like, no, you need food, but so yeah. But we're talking about long term, Julia, and like it's kind of like yoga. So you're a yoga teacher. I'm sure there are things in yoga that are short term. I'm sure there are things that when someone comes into yoga, they have a look around, they go to different classes, they look at different books, and there's certain things that look really exciting and fun and quick, and like, oh, you can, you know, learn yoga really quickly, and you can whatever, you know, there's probably that same thing in everything. And what you probably find is that actually what you need to find is something that's a consistent practice that works for you, that takes maybe time to develop, but it gives you that benefit for years and for life. And is not like, you know, learn 100 yoga poses in 2 days or whatever. Like I don't know what the equivalent is in yoga, but it tends to be the case that in everything in life there's the flashy, quick solution, do it overnight, you know, all that kind of stuff. And in raw foods world, it's sort of detox, cleanse, 30-day, 7-day, you know, supplements, superfoods. It's all this sort of like, you take this, juice cleanse, this thing, and flush, cleanse, all these ideas, fasting even. Like this is going to solve all your problems. And it really doesn't, it doesn't really solve people's problems that much. People often rebound. They don't learn how to sustain the diet. Often when people try and detox, cleanse, fast, they are, well, with fasting, obviously they're eating less calories. That can be kind of destabilizing for people. People can struggle with that, and they go through a lot of negative emotions. And a lot of people say that's emotional detox, but really it's just the symptoms of undereating. It becomes harder and harder to deal with life when we have less food. We deal with our emotions when we have less food. It becomes harder. And I've eaten a lot of food today, so I'm talking a lot more than I should, and I'm talking to you. If I was eating less food, I'd be like, yeah, whatever. You know, like, so I've got more energy today. But yeah, it's very important with everything in life to figure out what works long term, and not what works, or not what you would like to believe can work quickly and short term. And I think that the value in this comes in changing your habits. If you can change your habits, then that's the game of health, really. If you can change your dietary habits, that's what creates your health over time. If you're set up with bad habits, which many people are, that puts you on a path towards disease, disability, premature death, mental illness, all obesity, so many bad things. So getting the habits right is important. And when you get your habits right and you stick to them, things tend to fall into place. And we have a comment from Claire Fuchs, right? I have an addiction to cooked foods. I've been raw for 5 weeks, and it's much more satisfying flavor-wise. This is the 10 millionth time at raw. At the moment, I want to stay for my health. That's awesome, Claire. I need to keep up with my children. Amazing. Keep going. Maybe this is the right time for you. So, Julia, am I right about that? In yoga, is there kind of a similar thing where there's things where people think, and even a lot of yoga people try cleanses, right? They try and do things like that.
I haven't heard about that, but I mean, there is this belief that, we have to do like 1.5 hours of yoga every day. And I mean, obviously, during the yoga teacher training, when I learned how to become a yoga teacher, we were doing 4.5 hours of yoga every day. And I mean, I did feel pretty great at that time, but obviously such a routine you're not really able to sustain. So what I found for myself is that in the beginning I tried to sustain 1.5 hour practice every day, which made me feel great, but I was just not really able to sustain it. So what I found for me right now is to just roll out my mat, and if I just want to do 5 minutes, then I just do 5 minutes, and that's perfectly fine. And that makes me feel much more great on a consistent basis if I just do 5 or 10 or 15 minutes every day, compared to trying to do 1.5 hours every day and not really being able to do that.
So that's interesting. Like it seems what you're saying is that in yoga, there's maybe a mindset of like going way too extreme too quickly. Maybe like you have to do hours and hours a day, and you have to get out to India maybe and look perfect and wear the right clothes and get the yoga mat that's the right brand and all that stuff. But yeah, in nutrition and in health, there's always people want health in a pill. They want health in a kind of in a pill form, in a supplement. They want weight. Like people want to lose weight, but the only way to lose weight is that you have to change as a person, right? It's not like, yeah, your diet has to change, but really you have to change. You can't be a person that's like, oh, I eat what I want all the time, and I eat as much as I like, and when I'm out with my friends, I have whatever. You can't be that person anymore if you want to lose weight. Like you have to change who you are.
And you have to be able to, learn how to deal with your emotions, because everything is so much more intense. We feel everything more intense when we, intensely when we, cut out all the animal products and when we just eat fruit, because it doesn't have that numbing, stimulating feeling in our stomach. So it isn't just enough to know what you can eat. It's also important to know how you can, deal with your emotions and let them go. And because you, of course, can choose the path of continuing to suppress your feelings with cooked food. But if you want to succeed on a raw vegan diet long term, then you have to be able to learn how to, deal with your emotions and not be dependent, as you said in the beginning of the interview, not be dependent on food as stimulation anymore, and be free from that, so it doesn't have so much power over it doesn't have any power at all. You just eat when you feel like it. And and one thing I just want to add, what I just remembered right now when you were talking, is the yoga thing. Something actually that many yogis do, which I'm very glad in my yoga teacher training they didn't do that, but I have been an assistant in another yoga teacher training where they were drinking salt with water, and then they were puking it out, and they thought that would cleanse them. And there were literally people who said, okay, I'm going to do this regularly. This is so amazing. And another thing was this neti thing. I don't know if you've heard of it, but you make this thing. And I've done this once during the yoga teacher training, and I felt like crap afterwards. I felt so stimulated and everything. And people again think that this is going to help them long lasting to heal their sinus problems and everything. Obviously when you eat a high fat diet, which most people don't realize they do, and a lot of sodium, then your everything here is more clogged up. You can't breathe as freely, which is important for doing yoga, to have free breath. So instead of changing the diet to low fat diet, what yogis do is they do this, basically it's like you pour water through one nostril and then it comes out in the other one. It's also salt liquid, and then they believe that this will cleanse their area here, but it doesn't. It just stimulates it. And it's a shame, but
a lot of these things, so, and there's a lot, and there's things I don't know if it's quite as connected with yoga, but it's an Indian thing, which is Ayurveda. And I've seen various practices where people put even cloths down into themselves and then pull it back out, and weird stuff that people do to cleanse themselves. This is all the opposite of wisdom. Literally the opposite. And I don't know how any of these, like Ayurveda, like these are not wise practices. They're not understanding the body. Like the body is a self-cleaning, self-detoxifying, self-caring, self-growing organism. It does everything basically on its own. What our job really is, we feed the body, we go to bed, we stay away from maybe drugs and stay away from things that will kill us, which is fairly easy to do. Most people look both ways when they cross the road and stuff like that. That's quite easy. But the diet people get really wrong, and it's mostly because of our environment and our upbringing. Most people would eat a raw vegan diet very easily if they've been brought up on it and it was surrounded by it all the time. It's not a difficult thing to do, but people have been trained onto this different diet. They're then surrounded by it and it's become the culture. And that's very difficult to go against. But to me, it's the truth. Like, I think it's the honest truth of what we should eat for better health. I think it's the truth of the history of humanity as a species. Like, I hear people say, "Oh, humans, we don't fit in. We were the aliens came down and they made humans out of the DNA of, and all this stuff." I don't think any of that. I think that we are, I think we're an animal from the earth, and that we became a specialist fruit eater even more than chimpanzees and bonobos. We were even more of a specialist fruit eater, and that gave us the ability to grow an even bigger brain and all the things, and become so different to them, and but still quite similar. And I truly believe in the fruit. Like, I really think the fruit is something that some people in raw foods have kind of ignored a little bit in times, or don't think it's that important, or don't think it's that special. But that's often an example of why it is special, because it's not stimulating. It's not the thing that people want. Everyone would like the high-fat raw stuff to work. It just doesn't really work. Right? Everyone would kind of like to eat junk food all the time. It just doesn't really work. So when it comes to, but getting back to Ayurveda and Chinese medicine, so Ayurveda and Chinese medicine kind of say to people, "Oh yeah, too much raw food is not good for you," and all that stuff. And the thing is, Ayurveda and Chinese herbalism are basically alternative medical practices that arose because there were societies that were getting sick, and those societies were getting sick because they were eating cooked food and animal products. So the solution is to move away from those foods, but Ayurveda says, "Oh no, we need to have these special medicines or whatever." They have their place maybe in certain situations, but these are not. They're not a complete system of health. Ayurveda, Chinese, none of these things are. What we need to do is get back to before we had culture, before you even said Chinese or Indian or whatever. What were humans eating on the earth? And it goes back to fruits and vegetables, and mostly fruits, I think, personally.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. If we hadn't been conditioned, we would probably have a very easy time to just, eat nothing but fruit, because what I often observe when I'm in social situations and there's kids, I usually bring a lot of fruit. And the kids always run to the fruit and they say, "Mommy, can we open this melon? I want to have some of this melon."
Easily.
And
yeah.
It's just, they don't even want to have all the other stuff on the buffet. They just want my fruit. And I find it so incredible because, it's just, I can almost predict that it's going to happen, so it's kind of funny that you say that.
Yeah, and what happens is that the parents restrict their kids from eating the fruit. And that's the bizarre thing that happens, because all the information is that fruits and vegetables are the healthiest foods, right? And then kids are going towards the fruits, and then the parents hold them back from it. It's kind of like the parents are saying, "Yeah, don't be healthy, don't be at your correct weight, develop mental health issues." Like I don't understand why parents seem to really want to get their children to eat the same as them. That's what they really want, and yet they put the children on that diet. They must be able to see it's making them sick. They must be able to see it. I mean, I can't understand how they can't see it. And the kids start on these adult foods and they start having reactions straight away. Noses running, ear infections, even eye problems sometimes with spots in their eyes and stuff, skin issues. All these things start to happen so quickly. And the parents are like pretending it's not happening. It's really weird. And if the kids are ever around fruit, they go through it so quickly, so easily. And then, because I see this because I've got a nephew and a niece, and it's weird because if I go into, well, they're getting older now, but when I used to go into the room with fruit, I had to leave the room so that they would eat the food that their parents wanted them to eat, because they wanted to come and eat the fruit.
Wow.
And it was very sad. It was very sad. It's like, well, why don't you let them eat the fruit? It's the healthiest food that is possible for them to eat. Why is that a problem? Why do you want them to have fish and eggs and cheese? Foods that are not healthy for people. So anyway, you know, we all got programmed like that. We all got that programming, and that's really hard to change. And that was so interesting in the raw food journey. That's what's so interesting about it, is that you're on that path of, like, you know, this whole situation of trying to untrain this stuff. You know, trying to untrain the learning that is so wrong, and trying to get your body back in the right shape for eating fruit. You know, it's difficult. It's difficult, and it's a difficult journey. But I think that things that are difficult are good. A lot, well, not everything, but like, people want difficult. Like, we sometimes as raw vegans, we think, this is too difficult for other people, or we judge people. They say, I want to be a raw vegan, or I want to eat more raw foods, and we think they can't do this, too difficult for them. But people want challenge in life sometimes, and this is a challenge, but it's worth it. And Claire said that's not just a rubbish diet, that'll be the thousands of vaccines they're pumping it to. Well, yeah, and they probably wouldn't need the vaccine so much if they were on fruit. That's the thing, you know, and it's all, you know, but that's why I think this is a great challenge as well, trying to get that message out there to people, because people are very skeptical about the fruit diet, you know, but you know, people just have to try it and eat more fruit, and they'll start to feel better. And you know,
I think Dr. Doc Graham has said something once which has really inspired me to, you know, make this a priority in my life again. He said, have you given raw food as much of a chance as you have cooked food? And the truth is, most people haven't even given it one day of a try before they even started jumping to the conclusion that this is not possible and this is not going to work. But they have had 40, 50, 60 years of eating cooked food. So that's really what got me thinking, like, yeah, of course. Like, you know, because I was thinking in the beginning, because, you know, I had also struggled to make this sustainable and to make this last. And I thought it's the diet, but no, it's just because I haven't given it as much of a chance as I have cooked food yet. So yeah, that's really what turned it around for me, my perspective on this lifestyle.
Yeah, I think that, and I'm a great fan of Doug Graham, and I see him as pretty much my main teacher, and someone. But what's very important about what you said, and everything is about developing the right way of thinking about it, and the right way of approaching it, and the right way of understanding health, and the right way of understanding how the body works. And when we get that, and we understand that, and that becomes the foundation of the way that we think about health, it becomes easy to make good decisions. Because once we understand, well, the body alone does all the healing, and you know, the fruit doesn't detox you. Your body's always detoxing. Your body's an incredible system in itself, and it's always doing its best for you. You know, the idea that, like, well, I need to detox, I need to get my body to detox. Like, no, you need to get the bad diet out. That's the problem. You're giving the body bad fuel to run with. So people like to say these things like, I'm going to do a fruit detox or a green juice detox or whatever. But the body is always detoxing. You know, it's always doing, and it's always doing these things at the maximum level it can, at the best it can. It's not like the body takes a break. Like, okay, I'm not going to I'm going to leave the heartbeat today, you know. Don't think I'm going to breathe today. I can't be bothered. Like, the body's not like us. It's always working for us. And we need to develop that real trust and good relationship with our body where we say, this body's amazing. Like, it's always doing its best for me. Now I need to give it back. And that's something that actually inspired me as well, was I realized my body is actually kind of a separate thing to me. I'm in a relationship with it in a sense, but it's like, it's a separate thing. And it's doing so much for me. It's doing so good for me, and it's my, you know, vehicle on the earth, whatever you want to call it, and I should give it back the best I can as well, and develop that really good relationship. It's like, okay, I'm going to give you the best, and that's nice when you realize it's not just about you and how you think and you feel. It's like there's this other part of you which you're trying to feed well, and develop a good relationship with. And I think in my book for the bundle, I talk about intuitive eating, and a lot of people really believe that they can sort of, I'm just going to listen to my body. But the problem with that is we don't know what the body's actually saying. And actually the body often doesn't really say that much to us. You know, it's not really, the body kind of wants to be in the background, not giving us any signals if it can. It starts to give us signals when it's in pain, when problems are happening, when things get really bad. Then the body starts to really communicate with us in a number of different ways. But it's not like the body goes, hey, you didn't have enough vegetables today. Like, that's not what really happens, right? Or you need to eat a few more bananas. Like, I've never heard the body do anything like that. But it's very subtle messages that take a long time to understand. And sometimes it's not even physical, it might be mental. And you start to, oh yeah, I don't really feel hungry, but I can sense that my energy is going down today. I think I need to eat more. It's things like that, and it's very, very subtle. It takes a long time for people to get that. So when people start eating raw and they think, I'm going to listen to my body, they don't really mean it in the way I do. They mean it like, I just don't want to bother learning about that stuff. I don't want to read these books. I don't want this bundle. I don't need any of that stuff. I know all this stuff. I know my body. They just want to be, it's kind of lazy. It's kind of a lazy way of thinking about it, you know.
I guess what you're trying to say is also that when we get into raw foods in the very beginning, we are not connected with our intuition. So we cannot really talk about intuitive eating because we don't have that, you know, relationship with our intuition. So
Yeah.
that's, I guess, what you're trying to say, right?
We have to break all of the old conditioning first before we can even start to try and interpret what the body's doing. So we're much like I made the video about intuitive eating, and someone says, oh, so we need to listen to the experts then. Whatever happened to listening to your own body? And it's like, yes, you do have to listen to the experts sometimes. You do have to listen to the people that have been on the path longer, because what they're saying to you is that way doesn't work. We would all love it if everyone just went on a raw diet and they did it easily. It'd be great. Like, loads of people would do it really quickly. But it takes a bit of time and learning and getting rid of the old training and all of that stuff, and getting rid of the addictive foods. And it's a process over time. All of these things are masking your ability to actually interpret what your body's actually feeling and doing and seeing. And from what my perspective is, when you start doing the right thing for your body, there isn't really any signals anymore. There aren't really any major, like, you know, problems anymore. And what people have been doing their whole life is ignoring their body every single day, every single meal, every single moment. They're ignoring their body. They're training themselves to ignore their body, and then they jump to raw foods and say, oh, now I'm going to listen to my body. As if, like, imagine you have a friend and for 20, 30 years, 40 years, they phone you up and you never answer. You know, they phone you up all the time. Eventually, you know, and then one day you pick up the phone to talk to them. Well, you don't know what they're saying anymore. You don't know their life. You've lost touch with them and all that kind of stuff. So,
That's a nice analogy. I like the analogy with the phone. And Wanda Bacon is asking, did you go raw quickly, and what are the most addictive foods? So I personally went cold turkey in the very beginning, But then obviously I fell off the wagon because, as I said in the beginning of the interview, your microbiome needs time to adjust. So I took it very slow, and I'm from Germany. And so I took it very slow. I went raw till 4 for a while. That's something that really helped me. If you don't know about it, you can check out Really the Banana Girl. She really helped me like get that mindset of, you know, slow transition. And the most addictive vegan foods, I guess, are all processed foods, like, you know, vegan frozen pizzas with vegan sausage on it. So I think, yeah, what do you have to answer to those questions, Ronnie?
Yeah, well, I certainly didn't go raw straight away, but that doesn't mean, you know, you should, everyone's on their own journey, right? So I think that you don't want to go too quickly. At the same time, you don't want to be like 20 years down the line saying, yeah, someday I'm going to do it. You know, I mean, like you've got to do it as well. Like you can't just be like forever pretending you're going to do it someday. So you've got to start making changes. You've got to start putting a plan together. You've got to start learning about it and buying the food. Like one of the great things to do, a great exercise to do is to go out and buy enough food for you know, for at least 3 days of raw or 4 days. Go out and buy the food, and you might not eat it all. You might not get around to it. You might eat other foods, but it's good to get that feeling of how much food it is, you know, and the feeling of going out and buying it, and it's a good experience. It's a good thing to do. So sometimes I was coaching people, and they were never buying enough food. You know, they were never like they're still not quite committed to the idea of doing it. They're kind of like, yeah, I think I've got enough food, and I'd say, well, how much food have you got? They don't want to tell me, like, well, I've got this. How much do you have specifically? Like, then they would tell me and say, okay, well, let's work that out. That's only like half a day. You need to go out and get some more stuff. You need to get it all in. Some people are scared to eat more. They're worried they want to lose weight. They don't want to eat more. They haven't learned yet that weight loss isn't about the volume of the food they eat. It's about the energy in the food, the energy density, the calories. So that's another big one of the myths in the book. But yeah, you don't want to force yourself to do it straight away. I think you want to start experimenting with it and see it as an experiment. See it as, I'm going to do it for 1 day. I'm going to try 7 days. I'm going to try 2 weeks. Try it as an experiment. See how you feel. Start to compare it with what you did in the past, and see if you can make it work. And over time, you might be able to make that decision. Okay, now I'm going to commit to it. And once you've made that decision, then start making it a real go at doing it. But yeah, it's not about forcing yourself to do it straight away, but it's also not about being on the kind of never path. Like one day I'll change. So that's the way I kind of think. The other question about the most addictive foods, it'll kind of depend on you, but in terms of when they do, I saw a sort of a survey that was done of people asked what was the most addictive foods when people were asked, and it tended to be, as Julie was saying, like processed foods, like things with a lot of salt, processed salt and chips, crisps, things of that nature. Were very high up there, and fruits and vegetables were very low down. So so
Yeah.
very few people say broccoli is the most addictive food. You know, that doesn't happen. So it tends to be cakes, biscuits, sweets, things with a lot of salt in them, processed foods. Animal products are a little bit higher. Fruits and vegetables tend to be a bit lower down. For me personally, as a raw vegan, I went through a process of cutting out one food at a time. So it was always whatever food was left in the diet was the most addictive. So when I had potatoes and fruit, and that was all my diet was, potatoes, fruit, salad, potatoes were the most addictive food for me. And I ended up eating potatoes all day and a little bit of fruit. So, and if I ate rice and fruit, then I would eat a lot of fruit and a lot of rice, sorry. And then, so it was always, the cooked food was always more addictive than the fruit. I never found a fruit. But then when it comes to raw vegan, sometimes the pistachio nuts were the most addictive. And then if I was doing low-fat raw vegan, the tomatoes were the most addictive. So, like, there's always something that's the most, you can always find something. But I like to try and go towards the foods that are the least addictive, like the sweet fruits, I think, are the least addictive in my feeling about it.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
amazing thing is when you don't, eat addictive foods anymore, then it's so much easier to eat the exact amount that your body needs right now because you're not addicted to it. So you're really easily able to stop when you're perfectly satisfied. So, and I think it's beautiful that you have been, yeah, really so gentle and that you've just cut out one thing after a time. I really love that approach. And yeah, it's nice
Yes.
to advocate that as well.
A really important thing to realize with any habit changing in life is that your body and mind and something in you is programmed to resist it.
Mm.
There's a resistance to change that we all have, and there's a roller coaster that we go through of emotions when we change our life, and we have to realize that in advance, so that when we say, okay, I'm going to start doing yoga, I'm going to go raw, I'm going to go vegan, we have to remember, although we might be excited about it right now, there's going to be a difficult journey before it becomes an inbuilt habit in us, because our body and our mind, our system is set up to continually say to us, is this really important? Do we really have to change? Do we really have to create all these new mental circuits? Do we really have to expend this energy creating this new habit? Is it really important? So it's constantly challenging you, and then eventually say, yeah, yes, this is important, and eventually says, okay, okay, okay. And then it becomes a habit and it becomes easy, and it accelerates, but it can feel like really difficult to make a change, and you're going very slowly and you're going 2 steps forward, 3 steps back and everything. And eventually, as you get better and better at it, you'll eventually accelerate. So yeah, I mean, it's the challenge of it is can be emotional as well in terms of the emotional roller coaster. But some people will say, some people don't realize these things. We're human beings. We all go through emotions. We go through difficulties. It's not easy for anyone. Like no one finds changing their diet easy. No one finds losing weight easy. No one finds getting over a friendship that's broken down or a relation. No one finds that easy. No one finds starting a new job or whatever. All these things are difficult. Like we go through different difficult emotions, and it's painful. Emotions can be painful, and change can be painful, and we go through sentimental things. And some people say things like, "This will be really difficult for me. My culture is very much about food, and my family is all about food." Like that's everyone. There's not a person in the world whose culture doesn't have food as a part of it, and that their family isn't get together, or the friends don't get together and eat food. Oh, the place I come from is very unhealthy. There's not many vegans here. That's everywhere. Just I mean, like that's basically. There's a few places in the world where there are lots of vegans, but everyone's in the same boat really. And everyone says to me, "Where do you buy fruits and vegetables? Where do you buy them?" In the supermarket. Like, why is this difficult for people? Like, if the same place all the food is, right? So people think there's a mystery to this. It really is what it is. Like you go to the supermarket and you buy the fruits and vegetables, and that's what you eat. Like some people may have farmers markets and some kind of secret hookup, but unfortunately, we're not yet there. It'll be amazing when more and more people start getting on fruit. It'll
Yeah.
it'll be incredible. Like like Doug Graham used to talk. Some people used to say to Doug Graham when he gave talks. And to this day, like, so people will say, "What's your vision of the future? What's your vision of the future?" And he goes, "You walk into the supermarket and it's 20 aisles, and it's 19 aisles of fruits and vegetables, and 1 aisle of toilet paper." So he's saying like, so
Yeah.
there's the mango aisle with all the different types of mangoes. There's the banana aisle with all the different types of bananas, like, and not just that, but all the new amazing different fruits, because we've not even touched upon how amazing fruits can taste. And I think fruits are fantastic as they are. But if you go to the Amazon, they've got like some of my friends in the Amazon in the Ecuador, they talk about a fruit called Inaku, and they say this fruit is just unbelievable. Like it's They talk about it like it's smoked cheese, bacon kind of flavor, like really strong, meaty, savory flavor. Everyone loves it. They can't stop eating it. There's the, you know, the ackee fruit, which is like a weird, almost like a processed cheese flavor, really weird, kind of interesting flavor. There's the obviously the durians, that some of them taste like chocolate, some of them taste like vanilla, and there's just amazing fruits that haven't even seen the light of day yet, that haven't been, they've not even started the process of like, uh, let's try and grow more of these and see what different flavors come out, you know, and what happens we uh, when we find variety. Well, I know I'm not crossbreeding, but like what happens when we find different varieties that have, they grow bigger or smaller or different colors, more intense flavors. You know, there's so much magic out there, but it takes for more people to want it. We can't force the world. We need people to want the fruit and love the fruit and realize that your decision for fruit, for eating fruit, is a decision for a better planet. You know, it's better health for you. It's less stress on the health system. It's obviously less stress on your body. It's less stress on your brain, your mind. Um, it's better for the
Environment,
environment.
the environment, you know, Chris Candle said in the interview I had with him that, you know, fruit trees are three-dimensional. They're not like crops, like just a surface where there's a little bit, you know, but they're three-dimensional. And I just found that thought so amazing because I was realizing, yeah, and you know, the fruit trees, you know, they produce.
I think, I mean, really, I think, Julia, like global hunger and starvation will disappear if people go towards eating fruit. Like we're trying to, one of the problems with our diet system is that we have to, we a lot of people rely on continually planting these crops of grains. They have to be, they get pulled up and have to be replanted all the time. And that works. I'm not saying that I know better than farmers. That feeds a lot of people. That's what bread and pasta, like, yeah, okay, that feeds a lot of people. But fruit trees are so much more productive and last longer. You don't need to pull them up all the time. It makes so much more sense. If we're also talking about trying to go to other planets, like trying to be an interplanetary species, makes way more sense to have fruit trees than trying to store lots of grain. You know, doesn't really make a lot of sense to do that. So fruit trees, everyone can grow them. They can grow everywhere. They could be everywhere. They can be food everywhere. It would be a big change in the planet, a really big change. And yeah, environmentally, more trees is a good thing. We'd use a lot less land. Of course, if we go vegan, we also use a lot less land anyway. And a lot of people will grow their own food because it'll be so easy. Because all you need to do is grow some fruit trees, and then you've got months worth of food for a family, you know, for a lot of people in a lot of places. So, like, it's such a beautiful solution. We've actually got, we're not just complaining. The raw vegans and the fruitarians, we're not complaining about, oh, the world's terrible. We're not complaining. We're offering the solution. We're not saying, oh, the world's terrible, but I don't know what to do about it. You know, that's what most people are doing. They're saying, everything's terrible. Okay, what's your solution? I've not got a solution. But we have a solution. Fruit is the solution. A fruit diet is a major solution to so many things. I really believe it gets rid of global hunger and starvation very quickly. And, you know, and like the idea of changing the crop, if you think about all the world's crops, if you change that to fruit trees, it's just, wow, what a difference it would make. What an amazing difference. If you look down from a plane, and the whole world is just trees, you know, not all these like crops and crops. You know, when you go up in a plane and you see there's a tiny little city and then it's all the farms around it, you know, all the fields. So I think that's what keeps me inspired. The other thing is we're looking at human beings like, oh, we're a hunter-gatherer, or like all this is a waste of time. Like this is scientists and historians, and they're all wasting their time going down this silly road of like trying to believe that human beings fit into a box of like hunter-gatherer. Like, it doesn't make sense. It never makes any sense. Like, none of it makes sense when you actually think about it. So, yeah, and I also think there's an interesting thing where, sorry I'm saying so much, but it's not just about what happens to you in one generation. We get a benefit from fruit, but what benefit happens to the second generation, the third generation, the fourth generation, when people are eating fruit, and then their children are eating fruit for a lifetime, and then their children eat fruit for a lifetime? How does that change genetically people? That does have a genetic impact. What your grandparents ate impact your genetics today. I believe I'm right about that. And actually, what the life they went through impacts your health today.
Mm-hmm.
So if they went through starvation, that impacts you today. People don't realize that. Like, so the genetic impact of, I'm taking care of myself, but actually I'm taking care of the future, the planet, people around me. It's a great thing. So you're not just doing this for you, you're doing it for like an entirely holistic reason. It's a great thing.
It's so, so beautiful what you're sharing, and it's such a pleasure to talk with you about this. And yeah, it's really, really nice. And is there anything else you would like to dive into to kind of round up this little talk? I can't believe we have talked for over an hour. It just went by so quickly.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I think that what I'd like to share for people is that we need to all get away from the fears that we have when it comes to a healthier diet, a healthier lifestyle. We need to drop the fears and increase the great reasons for doing it. And to some degree, we have to have more fear of not doing this. We have to have fear of, what happens if I don't take care of my health? What happens if I don't eat fruits and vegetables? What happens if I don't share this message with others? You know, all of these things have an impact. So we need to get our priorities straight, you know, and realize that you are worth it. You're worth being healthy. You deserve being healthy. You deserve having a high level of energy every day so you can contribute to the world. This is not about just being this is not a fetish. This is not like something like we're all crazy people that like fruit and everything. It's not that. We want life. We want a great life. We want to feel good. We want to contribute. We don't want to hold that back. So we eat the diet that allows us to fully engage and be part of life. And I wanted to leave, I guess, you know, start to think about that, I suppose, and get rid of the fears, the worries, all the things that you've been trained to think by the media, your parents, that are holding you back from eating more fruit. Get rid of all that. Get rid of all those blocks. Every thought that you have that says, "Oh, it's not got enough protein. It's not. It's got chemicals on it. It's grown in another country. It's not environmentally," like all those things. You need to get rid of all that stuff. You know, embrace the fruit.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here and joining me for this live and answering my questions and sharing so much wisdom. It's always a pleasure to talk with people who have been on this lifestyle for so long. And yeah, thank you for also all the work you do again, like the Love Fruit podcast. Everyone who's watching, if you haven't checked it out yet, make sure to check it out. It's really inspiring, and there's a lot of educational and inspirational material there. So
Yeah, and hopefully you can come on at some point.
Pardon?
And hopefully you can join me on it one time, and we'll do an interview with you.
Yeah, I would love that. That would be cool. So yeah, I guess, are you going into the evening as well?
What do you mean?
Like, is it, yeah, I mean, you're from the UK, so it's evening.
Yeah. We're I have an interview with Melissa in about 50 minutes. So yeah, it's
Okay.
8 o'clock here. It's getting a little bit darker, but we're a little bit further north, maybe, up in Scotland. But
All right.
yeah, I see Claire in the comments. Fabulous, thank you. Yeah, go for it, Claire. You know, you just got to go for it and keep going with it. And don't be hard on yourself if you fall off. It's kind of natural to do that. Just keep going. Just keep getting back on it and go for it. And you need to try and go for 6 months at least.
And
6 months
don't
should be good.
see it as failure, but see it as an opportunity to grow and evolve as a human being. So
Yeah, that's the success in everything in life. Is failure is first attempt in learning. Like FAIL. So like everything is like it's information, it's feedback. It's like, okay, I didn't do it right, or I let the cravings get to me. I didn't plan enough. I didn't eat enough food. I didn't take that advice. Okay, that was not right. But next time I do it, I'll get it. I'll get it right. One thing I want to say: avoid fasting, detoxing, and all that. Don't
and
get
avoid
into it.
focus on weight loss and intermittent fasting and all that kind of stuff, because that's going to set you up for binge eating at night.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. You need to embrace eating more. An example I gave in my book, which is part of the bundle that we're promoting at the moment, is that 1 pound of bread is 1,200 calories. 1 pound of bread, but 1 pound of blueberries is 250 calories. So people that go on a raw food diet and they start eating blueberries, and you don't have to worry, because you could eat 4 times the amount, nearly 5 times the amount of blueberries, and get less than the same amount of bread. Than 5 times less of bread. So raw foods are very less energy dense, and but yeah. Yeah, Claire's saying I did 6 months before, then fell hard. I will do it. Yeah, so if you've done 6 months, then it needs to be 2 years. 2 years is the real barrier. But yeah, you got to get crazy about this. You got to get passionate about it. You got to really have a plan and everything.
And know
It's like,
your why. As you, Ronnie, said in the beginning, it's so important to know why you're doing this and remind yourself, what is it
yeah,
really that spark inside of you, why you want to do this. For me personally, it's just I can focus, I have mental clarity, I can really absorb so much knowledge, and I have so much energy to do the things I love. So that's what keeps me going. And Ronnie, what's
absolutely.
your favorite, motivation to do this? What are your favorite benefits?
Well, that's a really good question in terms of what was my main why when I first started off. You know, it's a really good one. It's really hard to say that. I think that it impacted me so much that I thought it was the truth. And I thought if I didn't do it, I wasn't being honest with myself. I think there was something about that. Like I think it was the feeling. I just knew that I felt so good doing it that but in general, if I go back to why have I followed a healthier lifestyle all my life or tried to, it's always been about the fact that partly it was when I was younger, I would hear about these inspiring people that did great things in the world. And whether it was music, I was really into music. I wanted to do music and get better. I was really passionate about getting better as a musician. Really wanted to get better as a musician. And sometimes I would hear about guys like Leonardo da Vinci, and he was an expert in maths and arts and all these. And the idea of fulfilling your potential was interesting to me, and exploring and expanding in life. And I just thought that if I start to drink alcohol, I might take away from that. If I get into drugs, I'm gonna lose my ability. I might damage my brain, and I might lose my ability to be the best that I can be and experience the maximum of life. So I think that was a big thing for me. It's always been for me about trying to not hold myself back, not have foods hold me back from the experience of life, and getting the most out of it and getting the most out of me. And I was just very clear in the idea that I'm damaging myself if I don't eat the right stuff. And that's something that still motivates me. Is I see those other foods and those other things. I don't see it as fun or tasty, or I see it as damage. I see it as disease. I see it as a road towards a bad life. And I've went off the wagon so many times that I don't want to do that anymore. I'm at peace with that now, pretty much. But I want to say that I'm not perfect and I could fall off the raw wagon again. But I know I want to get back on it because there's nothing better than it in my feeling. So yeah,
Amazing.
we can. Sorry, I'm taking up a lot of your time, but thank you so
No,
much. It's
I mean,
really good
I
to
honestly, I don't have anything to do. So if you want to keep going, we can keep going. I was just thinking because we had actually agreed to just do this talk for 30 minutes and now we're already like 75 minutes into the talk. But if you want to keep going, we can
well,
continue.
yeah, a lot. So the other thing I want to ask your opinion on this as well is like a lot of people talk about emotional stuff and emotions come up. Numbing. I'm not sure if I had this experience or not, but like what a lot of people go through, I want to touch on this. A lot of people go through emotional things in life that make them eat certain foods. So they may go through someone in their life dying, their pet dying, maybe losing their job, stress in their life, relationships ending or being difficult, um, health issues, work issues, all of these things that can be really stressful and hard for people. Moving house, all sorts of things that are very stressful and difficult. So these naturally create difficult emotions. All our life is full of difficult emotions, you know, and a lot of people end up going towards food as a crutch, and it's part of the trigger that makes them eat. And what we certainly we need, a lot of people talk about self-love and emotional things, and a lot of it comes down to that fact of like once again accepting that life is that emotions can be difficult and painful, and that I think that what we really need to strive to do to be really healthy and happy in life is fully integrate all of the experiences of life, all the emotions of life. They want to teach us, and we can't ignore them. We have to explore them, feel them. We have to give them time and space, put our energy towards it, and allow it to fully integrate into us. And that's an important practice as well, so that we don't end up with the triggers going back. And we should always see these difficult emotions. We should go, this is good. This is a teaching. This is how the body teaches us. How our emotions are teachers and for us. And even if we eat cooked food and things like that, and we don't feel so good, we might feel a bit guilty. We might feel whatever. These emotions come in to make us go, to make us remember. This is how you're going to feel. Remember, you're going to feel like this if you do this again. You know, if you get involved with the wrong people again, you're going to feel like this. So it can be very hard. But I really love that. I really love that side of. I mean, I don't love it. It's hard, but emotions can be so difficult and horrible and confusing. But we need to be able to sit and allow that to process as well. And I really believe in the idea that a lot of people don't allow that to happen, and they end up with anger and resentment and things that are triggering them to bad behaviors over and over and might trigger them to hurt themselves. And we need to explore that, and we need to fully feel, integrate, bring those emotions in, and allow them to process, and that will help us as well stick to a raw diet and stick to a healthier diet, I think.
I
Do you
couldn't agree
understand what I'm
more.
saying by does that make sense? Integrate, like like you kind of, does that make
Embrace
sense?
it. Fully embrace what is happening in your life, what is happening inside of you. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And as we've already talked about in this interview, when you eat raw food, you feel everything more intensely. You feel the positive things more intensely. When you have amazing experiences, you're able to feel it more, but you also feel the negative things that you don't want to feel more intensely. And it's very important that we allow ourselves to feel those things. And when we truly surrender to it, and when we jump off the cliff into feeling those feelings, we realize that it's actually not such a big deal. It's just overwhelming sometimes in the beginning to do it, because it's not what we're used to. It's not what we have been taught to do. In our society, we have been taught to suppress our feelings. We have been
Yeah.
taught to suppress them with food, with entertainment, you know, watching TV, eating sweets, eating chips, and so many other things, alcohol, drugs, smoking, all these things, they really, like, when I was a child, everyone around me was doing these things. So it's very natural and normal for us to fall into the habit of doing that too. So if we want to get into raw foods, I feel it's totally underrated in the raw vegan community to really learn how we can let go of our emotions and how we can deal with them. And I mean, I don't want to talk so much about it because we're already talking so much about the bundle this week, but you know, I've created this 11-day yoga course in the bundle, and it's not just about yoga because I really want to help people heal all around. So we do yoga every second day, but in the beginning of the course, I also teach a lot about how you can deal with your emotions, how you can let go. Before I even go into anything about raw food, I also teach about how we can nurture our body and some other lifestyle changes that can help to improve your health. And before I even go into raw food, I teach so much about emotional health because I feel that's the foundation. And if you've got that down, if you have the ability to be able to deal with your emotions, then you're set up for success on your raw vegan journey. And that's why I'm so passionate about sharing it. And I feel like a calling to really help, even though, you know, I'm like on this raw vegan path for 4 years now. And I finally feel at a point where I feel I've found balance on this lifestyle, and I have a calling to help other raw vegans who already know about this diet. I don't really feel that much about educating them about, you know, all the different nutrients and all that kind of stuff, but I really have a deep desire to help people who already are raw vegan to find balance on this lifestyle, to make this sustainable and long lasting. And that's why I've created this course. And you know, there's also your amazing book. It's already the second book you have written, right? Or have you written any other books?
Oh, I mean, I've got a bunch of like shorter books and things I've put together. And I had two previous books in the bundle. I had a book called The Raw Food Lifestyle 101, which is a book that I released a couple of years ago. And I've got shorter books, like little intro books. So yeah, you can get the bundle. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I've got a few books that I want to write. I've got a book that I want to write called Fruit Can Save Your Life, or Fruit Can Change the World, or Fruit. I think I probably maybe these are all different books, but like Fruit Can Change Your Life, Fruit Can Save Your Life, Fruit Can Save the World. So I want to do a series that's just about fruit and just about, because I don't know if that book's been written yet. I mean, there are sort of books, but I'm talking about like a mainstream book that's just eat more fruit. That's the whole message of the book. It's just fruit, fruit, fruit. All the arguments for it, all the benefits of it, everything in one book, and designed for the mainstream. I think, like, so yeah, fruit can save your life, because like, that's a much clearer, easier message. We have a great simple message. Well, I have a great simple message: eat more fruit. Like that's, and there's no qualifying caveat to that. Like really, there isn't. It's not like eat more fruit, but except from in these situations, it's like, no, eat more fruit. That's it. That is the statement. That's enough. Like, how do I get healthier? Eat more fruit. Like that is the, like, how do we contribute more to the environment? Eat more fruit. How do we help our mental health? Eat more fruit. How do we lose weight? Eat more fruit. Like almost everything is the same answer. It's so
Every
simple
single
that people
area
hate
of
it.
our life is going to improve if we start incorporating more fruit. And actually, to get back to the mental health, which you were asking about, I also just want to share real quick for everyone who's watching, you know, if you're struggling with emotional eating, and I personally don't like this word because, as you said, often it comes down to because we don't have enough fruit around us. We didn't have enough fruit throughout the day, so we are hungry, and often we have a problem to differentiate, you know, hunger and emotional eating. We think
Sure.
we are, you know, having emotions inside of us. No, you're just hungry. Eat fruit, and
Yeah.
then it's gonna be
This is how this is how human beings react to not having enough food. They get emotional. Like that's just, you get irritable, anxious, like struggling to deal with things. It's like, oh, this is too much for me because you've not got enough, you know. So yeah, exactly. Very few people can tell the difference between I'm emotional and I'm hungry. And a lot of people, because I've had this with, you know, when you're with a partner and they're fasting and they're fasting and detoxing and cleansing, and then you say, maybe you should just have some food. Then they have the smoothie, they have the food, and all of a sudden they've been depressed for 2 days, and then all of a sudden they're back to themselves. And you're like, that's all it is. You try and share with them, like, that's all it is. You're making yourself feel bad by not eating enough food. You're putting yourself in that position over and over and over again. And maybe some people like that, or they feel like that's a lot of the detox world is so full of people that are putting themselves in a vulnerable position, and maybe they like that. Maybe they like those negative emotions, but those aren't real emotions. You know, they're not real emotions. That's just anxiety from not eating enough food. That's not a real emotion, because you fix that by eating more food. That's not real emotions, you know.
I mean,
And
it
there may
cannot be
be,
generalized, but most of the time it is anxiety because your body is, you know, in a survival situation. It wants food, so it tries everything to get you to have the fruit, and then you resist it, and then there's just so much fighting inside of you. But often, yeah, it's often like that. But I feel like, you know, sometimes there is, like, when you have had a breakup with someone or something similar, you know, then there is a lot of emotions coming up, and then you could choose, do I want to go through this right now? Do I want to feel this in its full intensity? Or do I want to suppress this feeling a little bit to, you know, decrease the intensity? And then, you know, you have the choice between eating fruit or eating something that is, you know, more stimulating, like potatoes or vegan junk food, or even, you know, animal products. It's your choice. But
yeah,
most of the time, yes, that's also what I found. In the beginning, I was a lot into intermittent fasting, and I had a past of a lot of restrictive dieting and fear of gaining weight. So that's something I've, you know, freely the banana girl actually helped me realize that you just, you know, in the beginning at least, you just gotta carb up. And once I started carving up, I had energy to do exercise, to go out and live my life, enjoy my life. And then all, you know, all the problems disappeared that I had. And you know, at some point I didn't have the need to eat, you know, 2 kilos of potatoes or 30 bananas every day. I didn't have that need. It was just in the beginning to heal my relationship with food. And, you know, so my body can trust me. And, you know, my body understands, okay, Julia is providing me with enough food. I do not have to worry. So I'm not, you know, sending out all these signals all the time that she needs to eat something. So,
absolutely. That's, yeah, and Freely's done such a great job. You know, so many people have been able to successfully do this diet or a vegan diet because of Freely, and because of the message that she's put out there, and a very strong message. At the same time, sometimes people misinterpret her message and think it means I can eat as much as I want all the time of everything vegan, and that's not exactly the case. Like if you eat a lot of vegan junk food, and you eat a lot, you know, you can gain weight for sure, but um, you know, tends to be the case with people on a fruit diet or going towards raw. They tend to not eat enough, so they have to learn to eat. This, you know, this is what everyone says now. This wasn't the case years ago, but now everyone realize, or most people realize that. Apart from the people on this, the detoxification side of things, that think things like, well, actually, I need to detox enough, and then I don't have to eat as much food. And they're putting themselves into a world of anxiety and a world of disconnection from their body. And, you know, sometimes when you don't eat enough, your body stops craving food as much, and things like, it's not good. Like, none of these things are never leads to something good. I just see fasting, detoxing, I see a lot of that is very dark, you know, very dark for people. And eating disorders are, people come into this community and they have eating disorders, and they try and hide in using detox fasting as an excuse. Like, I'm fasting, I'm detoxing. Like, you shouldn't be doing it forever though. Like, you can't be living on nothing. So, and I've heard terrible, sad stories. We've been discussing it, actually, some of us who are in the bundle. There's people that we know who are going fasting for a second time. that shouldn't be fasting for the first time. You know, they should not be on a water fasting retreat. And it's really difficult to see these things happen and see people being put in vulnerable situations. And also, the more that you undereat, the more you become completely self-focused. You don't have energy for anyone else or anything else. You become completely internalized. It's dark.
And you
You
just
know,
you end up resenting life, really. Like,
yeah, because I think the only way really to really feel good about life is to contribute to the world and be part of the world and give back to others and try and be part of things and not to be hiding away somewhere, withering away, detoxing. You know,
yeah.
it's really dark. And trying to pull people out of that is really hard because, you know, and I met a guy recently and I wasn't pushing him about the fact he was under eating, but he was under eating and he had some issues around food. And he shared with me when we got to know each other a bit better, when he trusted me a bit more, he shared with me that when he started to eat a lot of fruit, he started to feel guilty and he started to feel like everyone was judging him and looking at him and judging him.
But I mean,
And
that's what is happening in social situations. You know, I've been in many social situations eating like 5 melons or a lot of bananas, and people just don't get it. You get bombarded with questions and people telling you like this is super unhealthy. So, you know, it's no surprise to me that people feel guilty about eating a lot of fruit because that's what, you know, our society is kind of programmed to believe. So yeah, maybe, you know, you also want to get into that. How has it been for you in social situations, you know, eating, you know, fruit and being true to yourself? What has
yeah,
helped you to kind of surrender to the fact that you're weird and everyone doesn't get you? I
yeah. I
mean, I
mean, I
guess
think
on Food Fest,
you
of
have
course.
like I was used to this anyway because I didn't drink alcohol, and where I live, alcohol is probably more important than the food anyway. You know, for a lot of people, younger people, they go out to drink and they sometimes don't eat so that the alcohol has more of an impact. You know, and in Scotland, that's the way people, in England as well, that's the way people drink. They go out to get drunk, really drunk. And the food comes later. You know, when they're really drunk later on at night, they'll have food. But when they're on their way home or something. So I was already used to being the odd one out in a lot of these occasions, you know, in a lot of these situations, and having to be the person that says, no, I don't drink. Why don't you drink? You know, and all these questions. I had to get used to that. So I developed a kind of a strength within me about I'm going to do this. And I don't want to be another just common person that drinks and gets drunk and is normal and all that. I want to be different and I want to have a better life and be healthier and feel good. So I was already used to that, but it is fairly difficult. There are situations that can be difficult, and you either sometimes you just have to not eat, and this is going against what we're saying, but like some situations you accept that you don't eat, or you have juice, and you can get juice anywhere. You can get, even if it's orange juice, apple juice, pineapple juice. If you're in a bar, you can get juice. You know, even if it's a soft drink, kind of a juice, like a fizzy juice, okay, one time, it's not going to be too bad, whatever. But restaurants and things, you know, it would come down to maybe thinking ahead, phoning ahead. Is there a buffet? Can you make it? But there is an uncomfortableness that comes with people asking you questions about it. Why are you doing that? But sometimes you get your food and people go, that looks really good. You know, sometimes people are really interested. They're like, that actually looks better than what I'm eating and things. But what really amazes me, Julia, is I'll sit down at a table. I don't like it anymore, really. I don't really like being with people when they're at a restaurant. And but there's a few situations that I've made mistakes in, but
What do you
I will be
consider make
there.
mistakes? I don't understand.
I, well, I had a girlfriend that was raw for 60 days, or yeah, over 60 days, and she was she was telling me all the time, I'm raw for life now. And I'd been raw for many years at that point, and she wouldn't listen to me. She didn't want to hear what I had to say about it. But she was like, I'm a fruitarian. I'm never eating anything else again. 60 days in, she's thinking, I'm thinking about cooked food again. I might have some cooked food. And I say, well, and I said to her, if you eat cooked food once, you'll have it every day, afterwards. And she said, no, I think if I have it, then I'll get rid of this craving. And I said, no, it doesn't really work that way. But she started eating cooked food again, and we went to a restaurant that had raw food options, but she took the cooked food items. And I felt, I realized that sometimes when people are eating other food around me, I don't look at it. So in her mind, I was avoiding her and not looking at her and judging her. And I didn't really feel comfortable with seeing her eating that food. And it was new because I'd never seen her eat that food like that before. And I felt a bit weird about it. So that's a situation that she wasn't very happy about that at the time. But that's, there's been situations like that I probably could have done better. But with other people and friends and things, my family have made me raw food. My friends have made me raw food stuff. I've been to restaurant things, they were happy to make raw food. Been to weddings, they made raw food. It wasn't very good, but they made something that was suitable, Sometimes you have to bring your own stuff. But the uncomfortable thing is the people giving you that attention and asking you the questions and everything. And I think the best thing is to deal with it with humor rather than trying to educate. Don't try and say, well, this is healthier. Don't you know that's what you're eating is? That's animal products. That's killing people. Like, that's not the time or place, right? A social situation. So if they say, why are you eating that? That's silly. If you got a monkey at home or whatever, like people say that when you're in the supermarket. Some guy said to me, are you having a banana party? So people say stupid things to you. Have you got a monkey? Have you got a chimpanzee? Whatever. And usually, though, I found that people don't ever ask me anymore about it. I did have a woman at a checkout recently say, are you a raw vegan? And I was like, yeah, how do you know? She says, you always come in here and you just eat fruit. So you develop a reputation, right? But I think humor, try deal with it with humor. Don't try and educate, tell people. Like if people say to you, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Oh, it's just an experiment. I've been told that it's good for my health. I'm trying to experiment with something. It's a bit weird, Or if you're with a friend and you're buying lots of fruit and someone at the checkout or someone says, what are you doing? And I'll say, I don't know. It's him. He's told me to do it. He tells me this is healthy, but I don't know. Like, what do you think? Do you think fruit's healthy? Should I be doing this? I don't know. And then they'll say, there's not enough protein in that. Yeah, maybe you're right. I don't. What do you know about this? I need to learn. I've got no clue. Like, teach me, please. And then they'll say, well, the thing is, the fruit and protein, and you need to have this and that. Really, why do you need to have that? Why do you need to eat this? Where did you get that information from? Can you provide me with something? Have you got a book about it? Just like. Yeah. But honestly, like, this is how you get in a conversation with people. And you just ask questions, and eventually they start to realize they don't maybe know what they're talking about either, or they don't know what they're talking about. And oh, you're going to kill yourself with that. Yeah, maybe I will. I don't know. Who knows? Like, just don't get defensive about it. Like, no, you're wrong. Like, that saturated fat gives you heart disease, and this is low in protein, and high protein diets have been shown to cause kidney. Like, that's not the time to start bringing that stuff out. It's also food is the most worse than religion and politics, sex, all these things. It's really sensitive for people. You have to learn that people are very sensitive and defensive about their diet. So you can't just throw this at people all the time. And sometimes you don't want to bring attention to it. You don't want to do that. It's not a
I
good strategy
personally
sometimes.
don't want, when I'm in a social situation, I'm eating, all I'm wishing for is that people just mind their own business and they leave me alone eating my fruit. But the truth is that people often get very triggered by me and they get angry and stuff and like
Yes,
defensive.
absolutely.
And
They feel judged
and
by
I
your
personally have
lifestyle.
a really hard time separating the emotions from other people from my own emotions. So when someone gets angry when I eat fruit, then I feel this anger inside of myself, which I don't want to feel. So that's something I'm struggling with, kind of. So, but I'm learning and it gets better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
And Claire's saying, I got told there's more potassium in a packet of crisps than in a banana, but then told not to eat loads of bananas. Yeah, it's so funny. And there's so many contradictions, right? There's so many contradictions that people have in their mind. One of the great contradictions is they say, fruit's too sweet. Fruit's too sweet now. It used to be 20 times less sweet. Fruit's too sweet. And then at the same time, they'll go, fruit doesn't taste good anymore. Fruit doesn't taste good. You're like, well, is it too sweet or does it not taste good? Like, which one is it? Fruit doesn't have enough calories. Well, you just said it was too sweet. It's got too much sugar. Like, what? Which one is it? Oh, you're going to put on weight eating all that fruit. Oh, you're going to get too skinny eating fruit. Like, you can't build muscle off it. Which one? You know, people are walking around with all these weird contradictions.
mm,
So, yeah, I think having fun with people, learning to take yourself not very seriously, not trying to be the guru. Your family do not see you as an expert. Your
yeah.
family and friends do not see you as the health expert. They saw you eat all the junk food too. So they just see you as someone that's trying something out for a while. But it is probably important for you to not change and do what they do. You don't want to like, well, once a year I eat whatever my family wants. That's not a good idea. Like you stick to what you're doing. And you don't have to judge them. You don't have to tell them why you're doing it. You don't have to lecture them. You can continually divert from that in the conversation. And if someone really keeps asking you about it, just say to them, listen, if you want to learn more about this, we can set a time and I'll tell you everything about it. But right now, this isn't the right time and place. And, you know, you need to have some kind of boundaries there a little bit.
Mm.
But, well, maybe we should bring this to an end. I've got Melissa I need to speak to very
Yeah.
soon. So.
Cool. So thank you so much for the great conversation. It was really fun talking to you. And I guess see you at the fruit festival or someone else.
Yes, I hope to come to Dutch Fruit Festival and other festivals, yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you.
Thank you too, Ronnie. Have a great evening.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Thank you for
Claire.
tuning
Bye,
in.
Claire. Good luck. Bye, Raju. Have a good time. Wanda, have a good weekend, everyone.